Carnivus Gaming, what is up? What's good with you? Ice Queen Gaming, how you doing? Yo, 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 what is good, everybody? It is your boy Lincoln Clay coming back at you with another podcast. And we got some buffering here. What a way to start the podcast with some buffering. Hold on, everybody. Let me refresh the page. Jamal Adams, what is good? So, you know the drill. Hit the like button. Hit the bell icon. The rest will take care of itself. If you're new to the channel, welcome aboard. Hope you'll stick around for the ride. Skip Bayless, Crap Gamer, made 5 videos lying about Xbox. That sounds like typical Crap Gamer. So, Ice Queen Gaming, glad to hear you're doing fine. So let me start off. Let me see here. I realized that Vieratron is live right now. Carnivus Gaming, yo, Lincoln, I want to give a heads up that our 2 new fighters in Creed. Yeah, I saw that. I saw the trailer advertising that. I haven't gotten around to playing Creed in a couple of days, but I will play it at some point today. And so I do realize that Vieratron is streaming right now also. And the last thing I wanted to do was bump heads with her. Shout out to Vieratron. Make sure you guys support her. And but I'm on a little bit of a time crunch right now, and there's some serious things that I wanted to talk about. So it's either I do the podcast now, or I probably wouldn't have been able to do it by late tonight. And by then I might have forgot about everything that I wanted to talk about. So I had to get it in now. And probably I don't want this thing to go on more than an hour because we were basically waiting for this pizza place to open up. They open at 5 Eastern, which is in a few minutes. And boy, they got some delicious pizza and cinnamon bites. So that's what my son and I are going to have for dinner tonight. So I definitely want to have this wrapped up in about an hour. So I'm going to have to fly through some of these things that I want to talk about, even though there's some serious subjects and they might take a minute. Also, before I get going, I also want to give a shout out to Uncompetitive. I played Battlefield 5 with him yesterday for a little while, or last night after we got done with the roundtable. I joined him on Battlefield 5, and I think we played for about a good hour and a half. It was pretty fun. So shout out to Uncompetitive. I had fun. So now that we got that out of the way, let's get on to some of these subjects. Let me pull up my notes. And I think we'll start with EA, even though I got Bethesda first. That, you know, the situation with the Bethesda situation, Overdone. What's up? I think that's the most serious of the things that I want to talk about, and it'll probably take the longest. It does involve some social issues, but at the same time, so does the EA situation. They both involve some social issues. But I think the Bethesda one is the more serious. So we'll start with EA. And so everybody knows by now that, you know, the sales of Battlefield 5 have flopped. They're down 63%, you know, versus Battlefield 1 in the UK. And I think here in North America, I think sales are down 50% compared to Battlefield 1. Mr. Pyle, what's up? And we all know that prompted EA to make a desperate move and knock the game down to as low as, well, not necessarily EA. So according to, because there were sales all over the place. So I assume that these sales were authorized by EA because these retailers were having sales all over the place. I don't know how true that is or not. You know, I watched Griffin Gaming's video and he touched on that, and he thinks that the biggest reason why we're seeing a lot of these sales is from the retailers, that they went off and bought a bunch of copies of these games and they're not moving them. So they're ready to cut their losses and get these games off their shelf. So I can agree with that too. But initially, because all these sales were popping up all over the place from retailers and from Xbox Live and the PlayStation Store, I was led to believe that these sales were authorized by EA. So, but either way, whether the retailers did it on their own or whether EA authorized these sales, it's a clear sign that this game is not having a good start. That they already went on sale a week after they came out, and so we know why. Going all the way back to we'll stick with Battlefield 5 first. We know that this game got off to a bad start for a couple of reasons. It didn't resonate with a lot of players. That EA brought a woman to the forefront in a World War II setting. This game depicts a woman as being on a front line during the Second World War, which to my knowledge, that was not the case, and that prompted a lot of backlash from gamers, and that prompted a couple of EA officials to have some rather arrogant responses. And I think one of them, I can't remember his name, but he jumped up and said that his daughter was asking him why can't she be a soldier or something like that, in Battlefield 5, and made it, hid behind his daughter. That's the way Griffin Gaming put it, and made it seem, basically was using his daughter as a shield to push his agenda. And then you had Patrick Soderlund. We know what he said. If you don't like it, don't buy it. And I guess he got his wish. People didn't buy it. So that led to him being dismissed and EA having to make that desperate move. So I legit picked the women soldiers for all of my classes. Like, why would that bother you in a multiplayer game? No, it doesn't bother me. I'm just giving my opinion that I believe that EA, adding a fictional element to a historic event that's factual didn't set in with a lot of people. So, and this is one area where I agree with Griffin Gaming. The backlash that they got. So I'm kind of on board with a lot of people, Guy Code. I think there's a lot of people that was okay with a woman being on the cover of a game. I think there's a lot of people that's okay with a woman being thrown to the forefront of this game. But when what they didn't like was Patrick Soderlund coming out and saying, if you don't like it, don't buy it. You have to watch your mouth because we are the ones that's paying them. It's not the exact same situation, but for comparison, I've kind of used a little bit of what's the word I'm looking for? Some of today's society. I've tried to use this as an example before. I'm trying to pick my words carefully, believe me. But I guess putting it bluntly, if you are a white business owner and you open a business in the black neighborhood and you take a racist attitude to everybody in that neighborhood, these same people that you want to come to your store and buy it, and support your business, if you start calling them porch monkeys and shit like that and like shut the fuck up and give me your money and stuff like that, how long do you think that business is going to survive in that neighborhood? Rate the Emperor, what is up? Jamal Adams, what is up? In this aspect, this is the same thing here. Like it or not, the video game industry is male dominated. And I do not mean that in a bad way. But to insert a woman to the forefront of a historical, factual event, I don't have a problem with that either. But to tell people that if you don't like it, don't buy it, and then you still expect them to like call your bluff and and go ahead or ignore what you said and just walk right past it and still buy your shit anyway was a very unwise move. And they are paying the price for it. I could go into a Hispanic neighborhood and set up a store. If I start disrespecting the people of that community in one form or another, my business is not going to survive. One of two things is going to happen. I will either have to pack up and move to another neighborhood, which if my attitude doesn't change, it probably won't survive in the next neighborhood that I go to. Or you're going to have to change your attitude and be a little more sensitive to your surroundings. And EA, through Battlefield 5 and through Battlefront 2, have displayed some serious arrogance. They made two calculated moves that backfired, that blew up in their face. And I think the biggest blunder they probably made is with Star Wars Battlefront 2. They know that the Star Wars universe has a humongous fan base. And they were going to try to sneak those pay-to-win microtransactions into the game. And once they faced that backlash, they were evasive, talking about Star Wars canon, talking about pink Darth Vaders, and wanting people to have a sense of pride and all this kind of stuff. EA's arrogance there is they were figuring that the Star Wars universe was so big and it was going to draw in so many people, hardcore gamers, casual gamers, occasional gamers, just because it's the Star Wars universe, and they were going to overlook this egregious microtransaction scheme that they were planning to implement. And it blew up in their faces. Guy Code, you said you couldn't pass up on Battlefield 5. They had me with the free DLC, with the free DLC. I'm not trying to tell anybody don't buy the game because I bought it myself. But what I will tell you about the game is that I bought it for $30. I wouldn't have paid $60 for it. Because the multiplayer is pretty much all I was interested in. Arian Drake, it's not smart to tell your people you need to buy your product. If you don't like it, don't buy it. They will take you up on that offer. He deserved to be fired. Exactly. And then I think the other arrogance here is with Battlefield 5. I think that they believe that franchise is so established and that people will like this game so much that people will overlook that EA was putting a woman to the forefront of this game. I think if EA would have created a fictional setting and inserted this fictional situation into that fictional setting, they might have been able to get away with this. But they inserted a fictional situation into a factual event, this part of history. I mean, shit. Look how many games out there have women as the lead role, but nobody's saying anything about it. Nobody has a problem with it. People love Tomb Raider, Uncharted Lost Legacy, which I think is a phenomenal game. I love that game. Nobody had a problem with that. You know, Ellie's the lead person of The Last of Us 2. Nobody has a problem with that. But EA attempted to insert a fictional event into a factual event, and it did not set well with everybody. And their response was, if you don't like it, don't buy it. That is the 1-2 punch of fuck ups. Yeah, right there, Robert Evans, Horizon Zero Dawn. Shit. Aloy might be the face of PlayStation now. Uncompetitive. How you doing? I gave you a shout out earlier. I had fun playing Battlefield 5 with you last night. Hope we can do it again this weekend and get Thrash to join in with us. Vieratron, how you doing? So I kind of agree with Griffin Gaming that if they would have shut up about the backlash they were getting and just let it die down, I think they wouldn't have taken such a hard hit. But because you tried to, jump up in front of them and talk this wild shit to them, you paid the price. So, oh yeah, Arian Drake, Aloy is fine as fuck. As far as what was that word that Foxy Games used? I think when he was on the Lincoln show, I think he called it like a video game crush on what he thought was like some of the most beautiful female characters in video games. And I would throw Aloy up there with him. She was not a cute child, but damn did she grow up to be fine as hell. So no, that's definitely not an issue with with women, taking the lead role of video games. That's definitely not an issue. But this particular game right here, EA tried to insert, and I think it's not so much that, and I don't think it's so much that that EA was trying to push the woman agenda. Don't call me Danny. What's up? I think it was the issue that they were trying to insert a fictional event into a factual event. Because Battlefield 1, there were some, I believe that the multiplayer was based on actual events that took place, but depending on, it lets you replay these actual battles. Crew the Legends, what's up? And you kind of get to rewrite history in this game. So, and I think that was the case with Battlefield 5, is that I think that some people thought that they were going to get to relive actual battles that took place. And you determine the outcome. But they tried to insert a fictional event into a factual event. And their response to the backlash is what killed them. What they tried isn't what killed them. It was their response to the backlash is what killed them. He said, you can't scream historical accuracy for Battlefield. I never remember people in World War II flying through bridges. I don't know. I mean, there were so many battles that took place during the Second World War. Shit, I don't know about half that shit. But one thing that is a fact is that World War II did happen. And there seems to be a belief that women did not fight on the front line in the Second World War, which I never heard of it. And that didn't set in well with people. And EA's response to people getting upset with that is what broke their backs. So now let's get to why EA did that. Why was EA pushing the female agenda so hard? And I think it came down to one or two things. They figured that this franchise is so established. They already knew that, you know, the majority of men that played this game are probably going to buy this game again. And they all probably overlook that a woman is at the forefront of this game because they might have calculated that some people might have liked the multiplayer, the conquest, whatever, and will overlook all that stuff. But I think what EA was trying to do, and it might be it was is this Mass Effect talks? Craig Harris, how you doing? I think with EA, the biggest reason why I think they inserted women into the forefront of this game came down to one of two things. They were either trying to attract female gamers, or they were trying to appease the SJWs. If they were trying to attract female gamers, I don't have a problem with that. It was a dice they rolled, and it didn't, and they crapped out. It didn't work out for them. If they were trying to appease the SJWs, then fuck them. That I have a problem with. Wanye Tudor, what's up? Because I do get sick of that shit. Oh, Titanfall Princess is live too. I do get sick of that shit. You know, SJW sticking their nose in all kinds of shit. You know, trying to trying to make it a I don't know, how do I say it? God, because I can't generalize. I don't want to find myself in that Kid Smooth situation, but I get tired of the SJWs jumping up, basically demanding that, a woman be in every major role on a lot of things, video games, movies, what have you. Whatever the SJWs is going through is not my fight. Because as a black man in America, I got much more shit to worry about than a woman being on the cover of a video game, or a woman having the lead role, playing the part of Rambo in the movie where she's shooting up a whole fucking city. As a black man in today's society, with me having a 12-year-old son to raise, we've gotten to a situation where, depending on what city you live in, you might get worried that every time you walk out that door, it might be your last, because you don't know if some murderous cop is going to get behind you and shoot you. When we had that situation where we're in Minnesota, where the cops killed this dude right in front of his girlfriend and his daughter, with the daughter in the car. One cop was telling him, don't move. The other cop was telling him, get your registration. So he was fucked either way. His death certificate was signed right there. If you move, the cop that told you don't move is going to shoot you. If you don't move, the cop that told you to get your registration is going to shoot you for resisting, for resisting orders. His fate was determined right there as soon as those two cops did that shit. And they shot him right in front of his daughter. So I'm not worried about what the fuck these SJWs are crying about. I got a lot more fucking problems in this country than to worry about some woman being on the cover of a video game. And then every time a black man does get shot, it's starting it's starting to be so fucking common that you see the shit on Facebook all the fucking time. That, oh, okay, you see a video, a dude gets shot, people get mad, you know, at least black people get mad for about 5 minutes, and then that's the end of it. But this shit has been raging on for months about fucking women being on the front of a video game. And every time a black man gets killed by the cops, I do not see the SJWs jumping up and coming to the defense of that motorist that was killed by the dirty cops. It's always this motherfucking, you know, trying to analyze what happened. Well, did he move? Did he flinch in such a matter? I mean, his pinky wiggled, so he did kind of move, and the cop feared for his life. And get the fuck out of here. I got bigger goddamn things to worry about than who's on the cover of a video game or who was inserted. What kind of fictional event was inserted into a factual event? I got bigger problems than that. On top of that, I still have to worry about being the best father I can be to my 12-year-old son. So no, whatever's going on with those SJWs, that's their problem. Don't try to recruit me for your fight. You didn't come fight. You didn't come help me with my fight. I don't see y'all jumping up, lashing out at cops for murdering people, black people in particular. So don't expect me to join your fucking fight because you want a woman inserted into a World War II setting. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. You know, Garuda Legends, you said you talk about how cops kill blacks, whites, and so-called people of color. But in the case of the police killing white people, they do it when it's an absolute last resort, when they almost have no choice. Because in most cases, they find a way to take, you know, anybody white that they go after, they find a way to take this dude alive. I've seen videos of dudes running around trying to stab cops with knives and shit like that. And instead of pulling the gun out and blast them, the cops want to play dodgeball and moving all over the motherfucking parking lot and trying to avoid, you know, getting stabbed and shit when they could have just shot his ass in the kneecap and that would have been the end of it. But, but they pulling over a black man driving a car, telling him to get his registration. And as soon as he moves to unhook his seatbelt to go into that glove box, boom, 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 boom. So get the fuck out of here with that SJW shit. Take your fight somewhere else. And then as far as that goes, you know, video games are my passion and my escape. Do not invade my world with that social justice bullshit. Take that shit somewhere else. And so, when you go back to the situation about video games being male dominated and women decide to take up video games, by now they know that it's a male dominated field. So they know what they're walking into when they pick up a controller. You know when the WNBA first started, when the WNBA first started, I thought it was a good thing because I thought it was cool to see a women's basketball league. What I did not like about the WNBA is the way they tried to market it. It seemed like they weren't trying to urge everybody to go to the games. It seems like they were trying to urge men to go to the games. Like if we don't support it, it's going to fail. My impression of the WNBA was to give women a forum of something that they can enjoy. You know, I think when it comes to like Like, okay, women's tennis. It's cool that we as men watch it, but I think their core audience should be women. I think same thing with the WNBA. I think instead of when they were trying to I think instead of trying to like run this campaign to try to get men to come to the games, I think they should have been working on trying to get everybody to come to the games, especially women. Like I felt like the WNBA was like, "Hey, this is a sport this is a sport with women in it for women, and it should be supported by women just as much as men, if not more." And then here's the other thing, Christopher Hart, I was just looking at your comment. Women are welcome, just know that men have been doing doing the gaming so much that they look at women like, you're cute, but this is my thing. I'm not gonna lie, you say something real interesting right there, Christopher Hart. You want to know the truth? If I call it the way I see it, from a mainstream standpoint, I didn't feel like women became interested in gaming until shit like Twitch, YouTube, live from PlayStation, until those things were up and running. Because now because now you got women who can't game to save their fucking life, but they jumping on Twitch and jumping on live from PlayStation so they can get their little attention. So they could have 400 men telling them they beautiful and donating and shit like that. Which is still, a little bit of a culture shock to me, because when I was in my 20s, men that play video games were deal breakers for women. I've went on dates with women and they've come over to my apartment, and it was the first and the last time they came to my apartment, just for the simple fact that they saw a gaming console under my TV. So they already had this predetermination that all I do is play video games, that I, basically don't have any life. And they, and she felt like she might be competing against that gaming console for attention. So now that don't get me wrong, I think like there are some hardcore gamers out there like Titanfall Princess. That girl played games. That girl played games and played games and played games. And that's another testament that she's a true gamer, because she's not doing some of this shit like you see on live from PlayStation, where these halfway decent looking girls, make sure their hair and their makeup is done, and running their hands through their hairs every 3 seconds, and making sure they wearing a low cut shirt with with cleavage showing. You don't see Titanfall Princess jumping up there doing that shit. She is a straight up gamer. Those are the kind of women that were, I agree with you, Christopher Hart, were like I ain't gonna say you invade my world, but like when they come into this world, I'm like, are you a true gamer? Are you really interested in playing games? Or are you here because now you have a forum where you can get attention without having to leave the house to do it? Now you can, get all the attention you ever wanted from the comfort of your home. And you can't play, and you don't even know how to play a first person shooter game to save your fucking life. Garuda Legends, you ain't bullshitting about Titanfall being a savage online. She is a beast. I think out of all the times that I played her on Tekken 7, I think I might have only beat her once or twice. She whooped my ass. She's a beast. And she was giving Thrash a run for his money. But Thrash has exceptional skills in tech, and the dude is good. So him beating Titanfall Princess got nothing to do with him being a man or her being a woman that's not in the gaming. He beat her. She's good, but he's a little bit better. Plain and simple. But Titanfall can whoop the average dude's ass. Dudes that's above average, she can beat their ass. She is she's got skills. So, but back to this this SJW shit. Like I said, I got bigger problems than to worry about them getting mad because because we ain't got a female Spider-Man or something like that, or we ain't got a female Batman. If they social justice warriors jump up with some shit like that and basically demand it, well, Batman isn't necessarily a gender. It's a symbol, Okay, go ahead and try that shit, Warner Brothers. Go ahead and make a movie. Call it Batman, but it's actually a woman. See how many people go watch this movie. There are some situations where you just cannot go against the grain. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if EA was trying to appease the social justice warriors or if they were trying to attract female gamers. And this is like I said before, if they were trying to attract female gamers, then I didn't have a problem with that, because they are trying to make money, even though they do it in a very sleazy way. They are trying to make money. But to go in and try to flip an entire genre upside down. Saku Karhu, I have not forgotten about that. About the European giveaway. I'm still trying to figure something out because I was going to buy a code from G2A because somebody suggested that I can buy a European code from there. But Sick Humor told me that people are getting their have been getting their accounts banned from these European codes from coming from G2A. So I don't want to run the risk of buying a code and then I do a European giveaway and the shit doesn't work, or even worse yet, they end up getting banned. So I have not forgotten about that. I'm still trying to figure something out. I think, I don't know, what I may end up doing is the latest thing that I was trying to do was trying to look into PayPal to see if you could send money to a different country, and they support over 200 countries through PayPal. So what I'm trying to find out now is if I would have to go through some kind of currency procedure, currency exchange procedure before I can give it away. So once I get all that sorted out, I will do it, because, I don't know. You can't use PayPal. You might have to figure something out, because as of right now, PayPal is the only thing that I can think of. So, but I'm still figuring that out. So believe me, I still intend to do something for my European subs. I haven't forgotten you. I will definitely do something. And that's the other thing. I also want to have this. It said, can't you order from the internet? See, that's the problem. See, if I order something from the internet, any kind of code that I get is going to be a North American code. And if I were to send it to you, it's not going to work. That's what happened. And that's what happened in the giveaway in the first place, is that, a couple of the European subs tried to type the code in and it didn't work. So, I mean, that's what brought us to this situation in the first place. So I'm still, trying to figure that out. So believe me, I'm still, it's not a situation that I forgot or anything like that. I'm still trying to figure that out. So, I will figure out something. There might have to be a little bit of compromise on your part. You may have to find a way to use PayPal. You don't necessarily have to use it through a phone. You can still use it through emails as well. So you may have to find out a way to make that work. Whether you have to create another account, what have you. So yeah, and see, Christopher Hart perfectly. Instead of making a Batman movie, make a female-centered superhero movie. That's what I was trying to say about what you could do, Saku. I know one thing you could do is you could probably get a like a prepaid visa, and that will protect you from something crazy happening. I think, I don't know whatever country you're from, but over here in America, if you get like a prepaid visa, it may cost anywhere from a total of like $30 to $50 to purchase the card and activate it. So that's what I used to do before I got an actual visa, because I didn't trust putting my number out there on the internet. So I ended up buying a prepaid visa to protect myself, and I only put money on it whenever I intended to make a purchase. So, but back to Christopher Hart, back to what you were saying. EA could have taken that same route. To my knowledge, there were no women on the front line. But you put this trailer out here where you got a woman with a prosthetic arm that looked like two fish hooks. Got Indian war paint on her face. And she's beautiful with explosions flying everywhere and dirt and shit like that flying everywhere. She ain't gonna be beautiful. She ain't gonna be beautiful for long. But you create a trailer like that, and you created a fictional a situation and inserted it into factual history. I'm not mad at him for doing it. I'm just stating the obvious. It didn't settle well with a lot of gamers, and they are paying the price for it now. Saku, am I not talking about VR in this podcast? I don't know if somebody brings up something that's interesting as far as VR goes, I'll touch on it. So I don't know. So now, I think we all get. I think we all get the message here, because I'm starting to beat a dead horse. Finding 36 different ways to say that EA. Yeah, I'm getting ready to get to that, Jaku. So yeah, so I think you guys get the message by now. EA made a calculated risk. No, Saku, I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm just somebody that likes to work out. So I've never competed in a competition in my life. Although it did cross my mind a couple of times, but in order for me to compete in a like right now, I'm about 5'9", about 207 pounds. At the heaviest I've been was 225, and I had a belly then, so I've been trying to trim that belly down. So, so now my weight's down. I'm hovering between 207 and 210. And I still got a little bit of a belly. If I were to compete in a bodybuilding competition, these guys get down to 5% body fat. I'm probably around 18-20% body fat. And at 205 pounds, 207 pounds, in order for me to get enough fat off to compete in a body show, bodybuilding show, I would end up having to go from 207 pounds down, probably down to about 155 pounds. One of the guys at our gym, he won. He is 2000. He is 2017's Mr. Michigan. This guy walked around. This guy in our gym. He weighed about 215 pounds but because of the way he was built, he looked like he weighed about 240. Well, the show that he competed in, he got all the way down to 166 pounds for this show. And this dude was already 210, 215 pounds of solid muscle with minimal body fat. And he still went all the way down to 167 pounds to compete in the show. With me, like I said, I would end up probably having to go down to 155 pounds to compete in the show. I'm not trying to go that small. Fuck that. I like, please excuse my language, Sarku. But no, I do not want to be that small. I like walking around at about 100, 210 pounds. I like where I'm at, I lost, if you heard me say it periodically, every now and then I go through these stretches where I'm not working out like I'm supposed to, and I end up losing a little bit of mass, so I lost a little bit of size in my arms right now. And it's not, I got to get back into the gym and get dedicated the way I used to be in order to get it back, so that's where I'm sitting at right now. So, but for the most part, I'm still, 207 pounds. I'm still a good sized dude. I'm still a decent sized dude. So, so now let's go on to this Bethesda. Now, Bethesda, and this comes courtesy of a YouTuber by the name of The Quartering. I've seen about 5 of his videos, and if you wrestle Saku, then you know what you got to go through to lose weight. A lot of dudes dudes that wrestle at like 132 pounds. These are guys that walk around on the street at about 155 pounds. Oh, y'all good, Thrash. Hey, I had fun with him uncompetitive. Me and him played last night, and so hopefully, man, I want to do it again with uncompetitive and play some more Battlefield. Maybe you can join us. Perhaps tonight, or sometime tomorrow. Although I'd rather do it tonight. It'll probably be late though, late night tonight though. But you 3 hours behind me. And uncompetitive showed that he can work around the clock. So whenever, so we can do this later on tonight for sure. It's in uncompetitive, feel free to join us. I have fun. So let's get to this Bethesda's banned players. Simply put, to put it in simple terms, Bethesda banned a guy, him and I guess his clan or whatever, were going around inside the game threatening to eliminate all gays. So Bethesda banned him for life on a game that's broken, on a game that they deceive people with by sending them a cheap ass nylon glorified trash bag when they should have got a canvas bag. A game where the multiplayer is broken. A game that is flopped. And they banned a player for threatening to eliminate all gays. I'm split down the middle on that one. Because they, oh yeah, Saku, that's kind of the basis of who I am is VR. I'm split down the middle on this guy about this guy getting banned. Part of me says that, yeah, he said eliminate all gays. Because, the Quartering played a clip of those guys. They sounded like they were drunk. And they, like, we're going to eliminate all gays. We're going to get rid of all gays, and all this, him and all his friends was laughing and shit. Now, the thing about that thing is some people think it's not that big a deal. Some people think it's super serious. I've got reasons to be on both sides of those fences. I think that part of me feels like, okay, they didn't need to ban him for life. But at the same time, I feel like, America has gotten so racist, and you starting to hear the word nigger so much, it almost ought to be put in a dictionary. It's starting to be so common. And when that word gets used, you know, people don't hardly even get mad at it that much anymore, because it done got swept that far under the rug. Now, if these same people that are fighting, if these same people that were fighting for gays like that were fighting like that to eliminate racism, America would be a lot better place. So now, same thing with gays. Their fight to achieve equality, to be treated fairly, is not my fight. Because again, as a black man in America, getting, you see some form of racism every single day. It doesn't matter where you go, YouTube, TV, your favorite TV show inserts some sort of racism, even if it's minor, with these little subliminal messages. There's some sort of racism there. Cops, having to worry about cops. Mass murders, a white dude go off and kill 36 people. It's an isolated incident, he was just a lone wolf acting by himself. But if you have a situation where a Muslim shot somebody, now it's just outright terrorism. Now it's like, get every single one of them out of the country. But you had a white kid shoot up an entire black church, and they feed him Burger King. So same thing there. What fight that homosexuals are fighting for is not my fight. And I'm gonna tell you something, and this is part of me being old. Andrew Wilkins, if you eliminate all gays, and all politicians, including the females, would be dead. Also, Catholic priests, God knows how many times we hear about, God knows. Saku Karhu, why can't we see you ever? If you go through my videos, Saku, you'll see one video where the sound is screwed up on it, but you'll see me in the gym, and I'm putting on some white gloves. And I did some push-ups, and when I was doing those push-ups, I was doing them for a cause. And it was like, to bring awareness to veteran suicide, because so for 21 days, I did 21 push-ups to bring awareness to veterans committing suicide, because at the time a stat indicated that 21 veterans a day were committing suicide. And I myself nearly committed suicide about probably about almost 30 years ago. It was like I felt like everything that was, messed up about my life, I felt like it can't get any worse. So I definitely jumped on board with that cause of doing 21 push-ups for 21 days. And so if you go back and check my videos, you'll see there is one video where I'm doing push-ups, and you can actually see what I look like. Because that video was from about a year and a half ago, and I was about 200 and I was about 225 pounds in that picture. Also, there's also another video where I'm out in the parking lot with my son flying a drone that has a camera on it. So that's another video where you can see what I look like. So So, thanks, Christopher Hart. You know, and I think the blessings just get better and better because my boss just offered me, you know, not my boss. I was saying that the plant got split in half. So the guy that used to be my plant boss is trying to pull me over to his side of the plant now that the plant's been split in half and we got two plant managers. So he's trying to pull me to his side of the plant, and he offered me a position that starts out at $2 more than what I'm making and giving me 2 extra weeks of vacation. And the bottom line at that place, I'm not the fastest worker, but I come to work every single day. I have not missed a day of work since being there, and I'm easy to get along with. I think for the most part, I have a positive attitude. While people complain about working and stuff like that, if they tell me to do something, I do it. The work's got to get done, because if there's no work, there's no jobs. So if they tell me, hey, we need you to do this, I go do it. So now, getting back to this gay thing, and while I tell you, and this is why I tell you that the gay thing is not my fight. I'm 51 years old, and when I was a kid growing up in the 70s, America was still pretty racist back then, and back then in America, the black man was the second lowest form of human beings. The only thing worse than a black man was a homosexual. I mean, like, you know, homosexuals were despised by, you know, mainstream white people. And so to make it even more fucked up was back in the 70s, a lot of those TV shows and a lot of those movies from the 70s and the early 80s, the gay guy in those movies was always a black man. And so since a homosexual was supposed to be the lowest form of human being ever back then, when you combine a black man and a gay man, that was the lowest form of human being. And they were treated badly. So bad to the point that a lot of white gays stayed in the closet. They did not come to the forefront and be proud of being a gay and saying that I'm gay, I'm proud of it, and taking stands and stuff like that, because they saw how black people were being treated. And the crazy part about it was a lot of black people were not gay back then, but because because that role has been portrayed of them in TVs and movies, there was a general perception that a lot of black people were gay. Look no further. Okay, has anybody seen the movie Mannequin, I believe, with Andrew McCarthy, where whenever no one's around, a female mannequin came to life. But when everybody popped up, she would turn back into a mannequin. The only black dude in that movie was gay. That guy named Hollywood. And he looked like a punk rocker, but he was gay. Does anybody remember that movie, Revenge of the Nerds? Same thing. The only black dude in that movie in Revenge of the Nerds was gay. And he was ostracized for it from the outside world. I think in Revenge of the Nerds too, where they got where that guy like set him up to be marooned on an island. When they finally got back to civilization to try to declare their innocence, that they were set up and shit like that. When the guy was going through and was like bad mouthing the nerds, he was like, okay, you got this guy here, you got that guy here, you know, he was like, you got your feminine little pansy here, you know, shit like that. Black people was being treated badly because they was already black to begin with. So they was already being treated bad for that. And they was getting treated even worse if they were perceived as a homosexual. So a lot of white people was staying in the closet. There is a lot of white gay people, But back then they were staying in the closet because they seen how black people were being treated for being perceived as being homosexuals. America was vicious back then to gay people. People were losing their jobs. You know, if somebody white had a great office job or something like that, and then they found out he was gay, they was finding a way to fire his ass. So a lot of these dudes was, you know, closet homosexuals and was keeping that shit a secret because it jeopardized their family life, it jeopardized their job, it jeopardized how they were going to be treated by society. And I think back in the 70s, I think the city of San Francisco, so I think that's how they got the, you know, like the because I think like San Francisco was perceived as like the gay capital of America back then. And they acted like, you know, the most gays live in San Francisco. I think it was a situation where the gays that lived in San Francisco were the ones that stood up and said they were gay and they were proud of it. I think everybody else all over the country stayed in the closet because they seen how black people that were perceived as gay was being treated, and they didn't want to be treated like that. And patient fire, I had an uncle who died about 5 years ago. He was gay. He was gay for God knows how long I can remember. And it was one of those things. I don't know how he got to be that way. I just know that he was gay. You know, he never put any of that stuff in our faces. You know, he never, Christopher Hart, you say in the African American community, people should be ashamed also, big time. I never had to deal with it, but my father never want me or my sister to be gay, even though none of us were. So, so two things happened that made it a total flip flop with the way things are right now. As far as black people being perceived as gay, that stigma did not get lifted off black people until rap music came along, as crazy as that sounds. Because when you start seeing then you started in the 80s, that's when you started seeing these videos pop up of rappers with these fat ass gold chains driving Mercedes Benz, got 15 women around them and shit like that. It wasn't until that kind of stuff started happening that the gay tag started getting lifted off of black people from a general standpoint. But they found a way to flip that too. Because back then, that's when, beepers were the thing and shit like that. So if you were black, they automatically assumed you were a drug dealer if you had a beeper. I guess they felt like, I guess like America felt like doctors and lawyers were the only people that were supposed to have beepers. So, and then as far as what brought us to the point with mainstream America, where you have, gay sitcoms and shit like that, what brought that to the forefront to me was The Real World, that reality show that used to be on MTV. I mean, one episode of that show I saw, this dude was, he went both ways. And he was fucking around with a dude and a girl. And they found out about each other and they confronted each other. And then they turned around and confronted him like, you got to choose. And he was like, I don't want to be forced to choose, blah, blah, blah. I love you both and all this kind of shit. So now it was like every time you look around, when I was, channel surfing and I happened to skip across, The Real World, I was starting to see a lot of gay stuff in there, and most of it was from white people. So I think they had reached the point where they couldn't hide it anymore, that a lot of people were coming out of the closet about being gay. And in my opinion, there was a lot of gays in the 70s, But the way society was back then, the way this racist country was back then, they tried to make it look like only black people were gay and that they were the worst form of human beings. And the rest of the gays, white people in particular, was staying in the closet because they did not want to endure any of that shit that black people was going through. But now you fast forward to today and you have stuff like The Real World where they couldn't stop it, where you had episodes where, you had white dudes that, was, having boyfriends and shit like that, girlfriends, whatever you want to call it. And that led to people coming out of the closet, standing up and fighting to be treated equally, regardless of their sexual preference. Which I don't have a problem with that. Just don't ask me to join your fight. Because when black people was perceived as gay in the 70s and they was getting called faggots and they was getting lynched and killed and shit like that for being perceived as being homosexual, nobody jumped up and came to their defense. It took, like I said, it took rap music from black rappers to lift that stigma. But as far as the society today, it evolved. Like I said, you had shit starting with The Real World. And it just evolved where more and more people was coming out of the closet. They're fighting to be treated equally and not to be discriminated against because of their sexual preference. So now we've reached a point in our society where the word faggot is worse than the word nigger. Where if I get called a nigger, it gets swept under the rug. It's no big deal. But if I call somebody a faggot, they ready to send the National Guard after me. I mean, where was that kind of justice back in the 70s? So now this situation where a Bethesda player got banned for threatening to eliminate all gays. Like I said, I'm on both sides of the fence about that. Part of me wants to feel like, those are just words. He paid his money for the game. He should be allowed to say what he wants. And think about it for a second. They eliminated they banned this guy for saying that they were going to eliminate all gays. If they banned the accounts of everybody who used the word nigger online, do you know how many people would have their accounts banned? So that part of me feels like, yeah, his account should have been banned for life. Because calling somebody a faggot and calling somebody a nigger are both are wicked words. So if you're going to punish one, you better punish the other. So if you're going to punish this guy for threatening to eliminate all gays, then you better be punishing people for threatening to lynch, niggers online. The racism has gotten so bad that I don't talk to people unless I know them, unless I'm friends with them. If I'm friends with you, we could talk all day. But if I don't know them because of how bad it is, and they say hi to me, I don't say anything back, because the minute I open my mouth and they realize I'm black, if the dude is gay, if he's racist, he's gonna start saying a bunch of shit. Just recently, um I think it was on Creed. I was playing Creed and I was telling you guys about this. I said the guy said something that was not so nice. What happened was the fight was about to start, and when you come to the middle of the ring to touch gloves, I came to the middle of the ring, and he came up to the middle of the he came to the middle of the ring. He said, "I'm going to kill you, nigger." So I didn't say a word. I just said, "Okay." And so he beat me the first fight. He knocked me out. We had a rematch. I knocked him out, and then I said, "Fuck you, eat a dick." And he said, "Hey man, I gave you a rematch." I was like, "Fuck you and your rematch." I said, "Eat a dick," and I left. I knew with Creed, I like with that boxing game, it wasn't a matter of if I ran into the racism, it was a matter of when. I knew it was going to happen. Yeah, exactly, Garuda Legends. You can control what you are, but you can't control what people think of you, especially if they have an agenda to paint a bad picture of you. Vieratron, a guy got banned on Fallout 76 because he threatened to eliminate all gays. You know, and I was trying to make a point that there's a part of me that felt like, okay, him getting banned was a little bit excessive, but there was also a part of me that felt like he should have got banned for life. The only problem is can we get people to get the same punishment when they get racist online? And I was telling the chat that if how many people do you think would get banned online, Vera, if they use the word nigger? When I saw how Microsoft conducts their policy in terms of investigating incidences on Xbox Live, it says they'll look into it. All it tells you is that if you report somebody, they will look into it. And that's the end of it. They will not tell you what the results were. They will not tell you what if they took any kind of action. They will not tell you any of that. So my thinking was that if somebody calls me a nigger on Xbox Live, there's no point in reporting them because Microsoft will probably need to stack up about 500,000 complaints against this person before they finally do something. But at the same time, even if the guy is racist, he still paid his money to be on Xbox Live, and we still have freedom of speech. So if he wanted to call me a nigger, that was his prerogative. Even though it is wrong, it is still his prerogative. He still paid his money. So that is a very slippery slope. And a lot of times I try to stay away from the subjects of racism because, you know, for the most part, I think America is the most racist country on the planet. I know it's racism all over the world. Like even in Africa, it's racism over in Africa. You know, the lighter skin Africans look down on the darker skin Africans. You know, I've heard before that Spaniards look down on Mexicans and Puerto Ricans because, you know, they're not pure Spaniard, you know, what have you. Um, and a lot of times I stay away from those subjects because, like I said, I think America is the most racist country on the planet. And a lot of it is racism perpetrated by white people against black people. So the biggest reason why I stay away from the racist subjects a lot of time is because I have a lot of white friends. My son is biracial. My son, you know, my son's mother is white. The majority of the women that I dated were white. I'd probably say about 85% of the women that I dated were white. And one of the biggest reasons why I stay away from the topic of racism is that I don't want to offend the people who are not racist. You know, I think a dude that I went to school with, his name is Rick Cunningham. All American boy, all American golden boy. Is like if you was to open up a dictionary and say all American golden boy, his picture would be right there because he had that look. He had that blonde haired, golden boy, all American boy look. Me and this dude was like Siamese twins. He used to come pick me up at like 7 a.m, and we'd be hanging out till like 2 a.m, where I finally got to go to bed because I got to go to work the next day or something. Me and this dude ran around day and night. He fought for me. I fought for him. There was times I got in a fight and he dove right in and helped me fight. There was times he got in a fight, I jumped right in, helped him fight. No question. But it's because of people like him that I would try to steer away from the racism issue because I wouldn't want somebody like him to be offended. So now when you get, so that brings me back to this social justice warrior thing, the gay movement, stuff like that. If the SJWs want to fight for whatever equalities they're looking for, if gays want to fight for whatever equalities they're looking for, that's fine. Just don't ask me to join your fight unless you're willing to join mine. Impatient fire, you're absolutely right. Lots of good white folks out there. The racist one just make everybody look bad. You know what, Impatient fire, and the crazy thing about it is like there's a lot of racism on PlayStation Network, and there's a lot of racism on Xbox Live. But the crazy part about it is that there is a lot of people, I believe, on Xbox Live and PlayStation Network that have used the word nigger, but I don't really think they were racist, which sounds crazy. I have met some people online who started out, I might be playing them in NBA 2K, and they found out I was black, so they started up saying all this shit about how I stole my Xbox and how my family's on the welfare and all this kind of shit. And then after the match was over and all the insults stopped being thrown at each other and we started talking, the dude ended up being a good dude. But what it was is he played the race card to try to get up under my skin, to try to piss me off, to try to get into my head so he could have an edge against me when we played NBA 2K. And so I think that there's a lot of people out there who pull that card online. They will say some racist shit to you that they really don't mean, but they saying it to try to get in your head, to try to get up under your skin. Because I think one thing about this generation today is that they're sore losers. They don't like to lose. And I think some people in this generation, especially when it comes to video game, will do whatever it takes to try to get an edge on somebody, a mental edge, a physical edge, what have you. And when it comes to online gaming, the best way to get an edge over your opponent is to say some things that are really hurtful that will strike a nerve with them. Vera Tron, this you said you have a Christian gay friend who pretends to be straight. There could be consequences if he comes out of the closet. Depending on where he works, he could lose his job because he could be discriminated against at his job. He could be ostracized throughout his family, you know, like cousins and stuff like that, could treat him differently. Because I know if this was the 70s, he definitely would have had to stay in the closet if he was gay. Because everything short of being lynched would have happened to him. When I during the 80s, when I became a teenager and I started hanging out, I would watch dudes go down to the gay bars and go what they call gay bashing and would go, you know, beat them up just for the simple fact that they was gay. So Garuda Legends, see, I don't that part of religion and gay, you know, stuff like that. I don't know a whole lot about that. I do know that I've heard about that quite a bit about people who were gay coming out of the closet and getting kicked out of the church. You know, Socrates, those people who got bashed down at, down at those bars that I was talking about, they had just as much right to me to hang out wherever they want to go have a good time. They have just as much as right as I do. And and that's rather fucked up. You know, but shit like this, worse than that, has been happening to black people for shit pretty much 100 years. Racist white dudes, happen to catch a black dude right outside his neighborhood and beat his ass, you know, tie his legs up, and tie him up to the back of a pickup truck and drag him down the street and shit like that. Stuff like that was pretty common in the 50s, but nobody fought to try to stop that kind of shit. You still have these neo Nazis, the KKK, having open rallies, getting police protection. They preach hate and they get police escorts. And and nobody's jumping up to fight against those people. So again, I got my own problems. In my opinion, how do I look jumping into a crowd of gays and wanting to beat up everybody who says bad shit about gay people? How do I look jumping into a crowd of SJWs wanting to beat up every man who speaks out against women? But as soon as I get in my car and I'm ready to go home, if a cop get behind me, I'm biting my fucking nails that this dude might find a way to shoot me. I got my own problems. So that's where I stand on these kind of situations. SJWs, you ask me how do I feel about that? I don't. Whatever they're going through is their fight, not mine. Gays, whatever they're going through, it's not my fight. That's not to say I want to see them fall. That just means it's not my fight because I got enough to worry about. I got my own fight. So the fight for equality is hard, long fight. Takes decades. That is why it's fucking sad to allow going backwards on any front of equality fights. Um, do not back down. Support them. Like I said, in terms from my standpoint, It's like I said, I don't have a I'm not jumping up here and saying that I'm for them. I'm not saying I'm against them. I'm saying that I've got too much on my own plate to worry about somebody else's fight. 1 second, everybody. Mm-hmm. You know, but boy, this is probably the most serious subject that I've touched on. And I don't know what the reaction will be. You know, there's definitely a lot of issues in America that are pretty serious. Um, some people choose to fight it. Some people choose to turn a blind eye. And at the end of the day, with me, um, I guess, video games and shit like that, video games are sometimes that's my escape from reality. It's my passion. Video games are fun. Uncompetitive. You said you're free to play Battlefield tonight. Just invite me when you're ready. You know what? I'm glad that you mentioned Battlefield uncompetitive, because now I can move away from this gay subject, from this SJW subject. I've talked about that shit much longer than I wanted to. I can definitely move away from this, move away from that subject. And now I can get on the subject. It's a light subject. And I went and rented Battlefield 5. See, my son's here. And my son has his Xbox One X hooked up on the 65-inch Hisense H9 series in the bedroom. I mean, in the living room. And in the bedroom, and that's where my PlayStation Pro is also hooked up. The 4K PlayStation with HDR. But in the bedroom, I have the Hisense H6, which is HDR compatible, which I guess is not true HDR, whereas the H9 that I have out in the living room is true HDR, supports HDR10 and Dolby Vision HDR. In the bedroom, this TV has HDR compatible. It is a 4K TV. It is a good TV. It is definitely a great TV as far as a budget TV goes. I think the only TV out there that might be a better value might be the TCL TVs. So anyway, I've got my vanilla Xbox One. All right, we'll catch you later, Vieira Tron. And while we're at it, make sure you invite me as a guest on one of your podcasts, because I definitely would love to come on to your podcast. Everybody, subscribe to Vieira's to her channel. We got to support her. We got to get this channel up and popping. Because we need to get more women YouTubers out here. So we got to help this help her channel get on up there. So y'all make sure y'all sub, y'all make sure y'all check out her podcast, make sure you give her a like, make sure you support her channel. So now the situation so to put it simply, because I'm trying to put this in a way where Xbox won't jump up and just assume that I'm bashing them, because I'm not. I'm just stating the obvious. So in the living room, I have a 65-inch H9, the top of the line. top of the line. And I have my PlayStation Pro hooked up to it. In the bedroom, I got a 55-inch Hisense. It's a 4K TV, HDR compatible, but the vanilla Xbox is hooked up to that TV. So when I saw Battlefield on both TVs, on both systems, it was a world of difference. You know, on the PlayStation Pro, you know, the with the HDR and stuff like that, the colors was much more vivid. It had much more pop. And so I rent the game. I rent Battlefield 5 for the Xbox, and I was trying to play you know, Battlefield 5 a couple hours ago before I went live, and the game looked like it was in 720p. The colors looked faded and washed out. And I said, my God, you know, I said, I got to hurry up and get back on that PlayStation Pro and play Battlefield on that PlayStation Pro. Stardust and Serial, I have not played enough of the campaign to give you an opinion. Actually, the campaign that involved the woman, I was just starting that campaign. And so it's not a spoiler. Just all I did was get to the start of it. The campaign starts with a German, the campaign starts out with a German interrogator, interrogating a female prisoner. And I'm guessing that, I don't know if she's Norwegian or not. But he was interrogating her, trying to ask her to, you know, he was politely asking her to give up information. J-Dub, what is up, my man? Hey, J-Dub, I'm going to give you a subtle thank you right now, but once I actually receive it, I'm going to do a huge podcast, give you the biggest shout out, man. I cannot thank you enough, you know, so I'm keeping it a little bit hush hush right now. But once I receive it, you know, and I do that podcast, you're going to know, because you know, your name going to be in big giant letters on the headline. Thank you, my brother. I really appreciate it. But Stardust, this campaign that I was talking about, the female campaign on there. So this female prisoner, she's a resistance fighter. So your character is a woman that's trying to find that resistance fighter. That's as far as I got. I started the campaign, and then I watched a few YouTube videos, and then I went live. But as far as the multiplayer goes, Stardust and Sarah, I like it. And because I paid $30 for the game, I think I got a fair buy. Now, the introduction into the campaign, the introduction to Battlefield 5 has you playing a series of roles, soldiers, you know, fighting in planes, fighting in tanks. And I think it's supposed to be an introduction for you to get a feel of every aspect of this game. So that part of the game did not focus on you actually killing people or trying to achieve something. Especially because the hit detection was awful in some aspects of that game. There were people where I had the gun pointed right at them and they still didn't go down. But I think all in all, this game has gotten a lot of. Some people said this game is straight trash. Like Dreamcast guys said the game is straight trash. I think Randall Thor didn't care for it already. But I don't think the game is as bad as they make it sound. I actually like the multiplayer. I had fun with uncompetitive yesterday. Plan on doing it again with King Thrash tonight, and having him uncompetitive join us. I like it. So could I recommend that you pay $60 for it? That I don't know. But if you happen to catch it on sale again, if it happens to turn up on sale again for $30, I recommend it. If you like the multiplayer. That's my biggest reason for wanting the game, was the multiplayer. I definitely love the destructible environment, because it adds a twist to the game where you cannot just hide in a building forever. Because if they target the game, if the tanks target the building that you're hiding in, they will eventually level the building. So you can only hide in there for so long. So I definitely like the multiplayer. So I can definitely, if you're just interested in the multiplayer and you can catch it for $30, that I can recommend. I cannot make any recommendations as far as the campaign goes. So J Dubs, if you go buy it, you said you'll go buy it. If you're gonna pick it up on one of the consoles, man, I would like to ask you to pick it up on the PlayStation so you can join me, Thrash, and Uncompetitive. You know, I would like to think that Sick got it too, because that dude buy everything. So you know, so I would like to think that he probably got it too. So you're gonna go to the PlayStation store and buy it for the PlayStation. So remember, Stardust, I am not recommending it because of the campaign. I'm recommending it because of the multiplayer. I love the destructible aspect of it. This game looks amazing on the PlayStation Pro. The colors, you know, have pop. It's a very sharp picture. You say you'll rent it on on EA Origins on PC. I'll buy it for on PC for less than $20. I mean that I guess that's one area where they could allow crossplay. They could allow crossplay between the PS4 and the PC. I just don't support crossplay between the PlayStation and the Xbox because that is your main competitor. And by allowing crossplay with your main competitor, you know, you shoot yourself in your foot and stifling sales. So I don't think that's advisable. PC and in my opinion, PC and consoles are not a threat to each other because they're, you know, two different mentalities. So I don't have a problem with crossplay between consoles and PC. I do not support crossplay between consoles. You know, VR is a little bit of an exception to the rule because that genre does not have near the user base as, you know, as consoles in general. So, but I like it. I do, you know, I do like the multiplayer. I think it's cool. So, and I plan to play it again, but I'm going to get ready to wrap this up shortly because, you know, I'm like an hour and a half overdue ordering that pizza. Oh my God. Pepperoni, sausage, ham. I don't put bacon on pizzas anymore because a lot of these places use bacon that's been sitting around for a couple of hours, and stale old bacon has a very strong taste. So whereas, you know, sausage and pepperoni and ham and shit like that, it blends into the taste of the pizza. Yeah, Garuda, PS4 has more crossplay games than Xbox. Yeah, without a doubt. You know, but you know, Microsoft was trying to launch that campaign. In my opinion, I think they were trying to tap into the 80 million PlayStation sold because they wanted a piece of that user base, and I felt like they were trying to set themselves up for the next generation. If you create a situation where people don't have to buy a PlayStation, you stifle sales for them, and it sets the tone to create a level playing field for the next generation. I've said it before that the next generation is already over before it started. Based on customer loyalty and based on customer satisfaction, there are going to be more PS5s out there than Xbox Scarlet. Without question, you'll see me on Battlefield 5 sometime, Ian, because fact of the matter is, even though, you know, I might buy it again for the Xbox once it turns up on sale, even though the shit looks like it's in 720p on my vanilla Xbox One, even though the colors look faded and washed out on my Xbox One, I still have friends on the Xbox. So wherever you want to play, Ian, whether it's the PlayStation, that is my preference to play it on the PlayStation. But if you are unable to play it on the PlayStation and you want to play it on the Xbox, once the game turns up on sale again, I will pick it up for the Xbox because I do like the multiplayer that much. That Battlefield 1, that I did own it on both the PlayStation and the Xbox because I had friends on both platforms. So with that being said, I want to thank everybody who was able to set through this serious and possibly sensitive podcast that I had. I hope it didn't offend anyone. You know, I almost have a neutral stance on other organizations going through their battles, because I have my own battles that I have to fight. Um, so I, I hope it didn't offend anyone, and I definitely appreciate everyone who was able to sit through this. There was no malicious intent. There was no malicious intent in this podcast. We all have our opinions on things. We all have things that we fight for. We all pick and choose our battles. We all have, things that we look at from the outside, what have you. So, but at the end of the day, gaming is still my focus. And I just don't like it when politics, racism, and social issues spill into our passion. And gaming isn't just my passion, it's our passion. We are all here because we love gaming. Whether it is the Xbox, PC, or PlayStation, we are all here because we love gaming. And I want gaming to be strictly gaming, and that's it. This so-called council war that's going on out there, at the end of the day, it's still a matter of preference. It's a council war, a so-called council war, because one side prefers one device and another side prefers a different device. That's fine, whatever, because at the end of the day, it's still gaming. And even though these sides don't agree, one thing they do have is a love for gaming. And that's as far as it should go. I feel like there is no place for social issues to invade our genre, to invade our passion. There's no place for it. So with that being said, again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. You probably won't see me have a podcast like this again, because a lot of the bullshit that goes on in the world is just like, I just want to escape from a lot of the bullshit that goes on in this world. I just want to be able to go to work, do my time at work, make sure my son is taken care of, and then when I come home, do the two things that I love, and that's either go to the gym or play video games. And that's it. So, give it a like, or in this case, give it a dislike. If you were offended by some of the things I might have said, give it a dislike. That is your right to hit that thumbs down button. But regardless, I definitely want to thank everybody who tuned into this podcast. Shout out to Uncompetitive, shout out to Vieira Tron, King Thrash, Craig Harris. They popped in here, said what's up. I definitely appreciate it. The drill. Lock the door on your way out. And I guess I'd like to thank everybody for attending the Wakandan seminar. Oh, boy. But today, since I'm going to go have a pizza and I'm going to stuff my face, look for me to do something today on the VR. Look for me to stream something, whether it's Creed. There is I can't even, his name is a bunch of letters, YNC. So I don't know what it is, but he's been hitting me up for the last couple of days wanting to play Creed. So I'm going to try to catch up with this person on my friends list to play Creed and try to stream it, or I'll play some more Beat Saber. because I definitely like those two games in terms of a workout. Wakanda forever. Wakanda forever. So yeah, so again, look for me to do something, on the VR. My son's got the TV in the living room, and so the only way I'm going to be able to get to my PlayStation is through the VR because I don't need the TV. So like I said, look for me to do something on the VR today. So thanks for tuning in. Give it a like. It's Saturday, y'all. Y'all enjoy yourselves. Do whatever it is you like to do. Game, go out to eat, take in a movie, whatever it is you want to do, but just make sure you enjoy this weekend and have fun. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. And I will holler at y'all later. Make sure y'all catch me later on when I stream. And that'll do it for me. Enjoy the rest of y'all day, y'all. I'll holler at y'all later.